The phone buzzed again almost immediately. Emma's reply was full of emojis and excitement. "Dad, it's going to be amazing. Mom said you'd love it. Everyone from the cousins to Uncle Mike's new wife is coming. We told them your place because it's central and you always said family is everything. See you soon." I sank into my worn armchair, the one my late wife Sarah used to call the thinking chair. Sarah had passed 5 years ago, and since then, my relationship with Emma had been strained. She was 28 now, living 2 hours away with her husband Ryan and their 2 kids. We talked on birthdays and holidays, but it was surface level, polite, distant. I remembered the last big family gathering, Sarah's funeral. The house had been full then too, but with grief instead of laughter. After that, I pulled away. Work as a retired mechanic kept me busy fixing cars in my garage, but mostly it kept me isolated. I liked the quiet, no expectations, no disappointments. But Emma had clearly decided quiet wasn't enough anymore. She'd gone ahead and invited half the extended family without asking. My mind raced. Where would everyone sleep? What would I feed them? My savings were modest, enough for bills and a small Christmas tree, not a feast for 50. Panic set in. I called Emma, but it went straight to voicemail. That night, I barely slept. I walked through my house, noting every flaw. The faded wallpaper, the kitchen table that seated only 6, the backyard that was more weeds than grass. How had things gotten so disconnected? I thought back to Emma as a little girl, helping me in the garage, her tiny hands covered in grease as she fixed toy cars. She used to say, "Daddy, when I grow up, we'll have big family parties every year." Now she was making it happen, whether I was ready or not. By morning, I knew I had 2 choices, shut it down or step up. I replied to her text with more than just panic this time. "Emma, this is a big surprise. Let's figure this out together. I love you." Sending it felt like jumping off a cliff. The replies flooded in. Cousins confirming, aunts offering to bring dishes, even distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in a decade. The pressure was on. I had 5 days to turn my quiet home into a Christmas wonderland for 50. Little did I know, the real surprises were just beginning. As I started cleaning, memories flooded back like an old photo album coming to life. I found boxes in the attic filled with Sarah's things, her favorite Christmas ornaments, letters we wrote to each other, and photos of Emma growing up. One picture stopped me cold. Emma at 12, standing between me and Sarah at our old family cabin. We looked happy, whole, but life hadn't stayed that way. After Sarah got sick, I worked longer hours to pay medical bills. Emma felt neglected. She once screamed at me, "You're never here, Dad. It's like you don't even care anymore." I thought providing was enough. I was wrong. Sarah's final wish was for us to stay close as a family. I promised her I would, but after the funeral, grief turned me into a ghost. Emma moved on with her life, building her own family. I stayed behind, fixing other people's cars while mine, our family bond, fell apart. Now, hosting Christmas felt like a second but also a reckoning. I called my brother Mike for help. "You're actually doing this?" he laughed. "Emma's got your number, huh? We'll bring extra chairs and the big grill." His support eased some worry, but deeper issues lingered. I spent the next 2 days shopping on a tight budget. Bulk potatoes, turkeys from the discount store, and simple decorations. Neighbors noticed my sudden activity. Old Mrs. Patel from next door brought over homemade cookies and offered her extra folding tables. "Family is worth the mess," she said with a wink. Her kindness reminded me I wasn't completely alone. On December 22nd, Emma finally answered my call. Her voice was nervous but determined. "Dad, I know it's sudden, but Mom always talked about big Christmases. I wanted to make it real again. Ryan and we've been struggling too. Work stress kids. I thought bringing everyone together would help all of us." Her words hit hard. I hadn't realized she was carrying her own burdens. We talked for over an hour. Really talked for the first time in years. She admitted she'd been scared to ask directly, afraid I'd say no. I confessed my fears about failing everyone again. By the end we both cried. "We'll make it work, Dad," she promised. That conversation cracked open the wall between us. I hung up feeling lighter, but the house was still unprepared, and more texts kept coming. 50 people meant stories, laughter, and probably old grudges too. I had no idea what Christmas Eve would bring. December 23rd was pure chaos. Delivery trucks dropped off rented chairs and heaters for the backyard. I enlisted my neighbor's teenage sons to help string lights. The house transformed slowly. Garlands on the mantel, a borrowed Christmas tree in the corner sparkling with Sarah's old ornaments, but problems piled up. The oven barely worked for one turkey, let alone multiple. Cousins started arriving early. Uncle Mike with his booming laugh and new wife Lisa, who immediately took over the kitchen. "Don't worry, John, we got this." Emma arrived with Ryan and the kids on the 24th. My grandkids, Lily and little Jack, ran straight into my arms. "Grandpa, your house is magic," Lily squealed. Seeing their excitement melted my anxiety. Emma hugged me tightly. "Thank you, Dad. This means everything." That night, more family trickled in. Some I hadn't seen since Sarah's funeral. There were awkward moments, my sister-in-law asking pointed questions about why I'd been missing in action. But the kids playing, the smell of cooking food, and Christmas carols playing softly created warmth I hadn't felt in years. I pulled Emma aside. "Why 50? Really?" She smiled sadly. "Because life's short, Dad. After Mom, I realized we can't wait for perfect moments. We have to make them." Her words echoed Sarah's. I showed her the boxes from the attic. We sorted ornaments together, sharing stories that made us laugh and tear up, but not everything was smooth. One cousin mentioned an old family loan I'd forgotten about. Tension simmered beneath the holiday cheer. I wondered if hosting this was a mistake, until I saw Lily whispering to Jack about Grandpa's big adventure. They were creating new memories already. As midnight approached, the house buzzed with energy. I stayed up late prepping, my back aching but my heart full. Christmas morning would test us all. Christmas Day arrived with snow flurries, rare for our area, and the house filled to bursting. 50 people crammed in, spilling into the backyard under tents and heaters. The aroma of roasted turkey, spiced ham and pies filled every corner. Kids ran around with new toys, adults caught up over eggnog. I stood at the head of the makeshift long table, boards on sawhorses, and raised my glass. "I didn't plan this," I said, voice cracking. "Emma did, and I'm so grateful." "Sarah would loved seeing all of you here." Applause erupted. Emma beamed beside me, but drama hit during dinner. Uncle Mike brought up old business, the family cabin we'd argued over years ago. Voices rose. Emma's husband Ryan looked uncomfortable. I felt the old regret rising, all the times I'd chosen silence over fixing things. Then Emma stood up. "Stop. This is why I did this. Dad's been alone too long. We've all been carrying stuff." Mom's last letter, she pulled out a folded paper I'd never seen, said we should forgive and gather. She left it for us. The room went quiet as she read parts aloud. Sarah's words were simple and powerful. Love bigger than mistakes. Show up for each other. Tears flowed. I hugged Mike. Apologies went around. Ryan admitted work stress had strained his marriage, and the family offered support. The feast continued with renewed joy. We shared stories. Funny failures, proud moments, Sarah's favorite recipes. My grandkids performed a silly play. Someone started singing, and soon the whole house joined in silent night. In that moment, my little imperfect home felt like the warmest place on earth. Later, Emma found me in the garage. "Your reply to my text, it changed everything, Dad." I admitted my initial panic but said yes because of her. We talked deep into the night about her struggles and my loneliness. Healing began right there, surrounded by tools and old car parts. The days after Christmas were different. Family stayed in touch, texts, calls, plans for summer reunions. I visited Emma's home, played with the grandkids, and even helped Ryan with some handyman work. The distance that had grown between us shrank. I realized hosting wasn't about perfection, it was about presence. My small savings stretched further with everyone chipping in. Neighbors became honorary family. Mrs. Patel joined our next gathering. Emma and I made a pact. No more waiting for holidays to connect. We started weekly calls and monthly visits. I fixed up the house bit by bit, turning the garage into a play area for the kids. The leaky roof? Fixed with help from Mike. That chaotic Christmas taught me family isn't about grand gestures or perfect homes. It's about showing up even when scared. Emma's bold text forced me out of isolation. My simple reply opened the door to forgiveness. Today, as I look at the photo from that Christmas, 50 smiling faces crowded together, I smile. Sarah's spirit lives on in us. If you're watching this and feeling distant from loved ones, send that text. Make the call. Host the messy gathering. The magic happens in the chaos. Life's too short for quiet regret. Embrace the noise, the mess, the love. Merry Christmas, everyone. And here's to many more family adventures ahead. The glow of Christmas lights stayed up longer than usual that year. After everyone left, my house felt both empty and full at the same time. Emma and her family stayed 2 extra days, and those quiet mornings with coffee and grandkids' laughter became something I didn't know I'd been starving for. But real life has a way of testing new beginnings. On New Year's Eve, another text came, this time from my nephew Tyler. Emma's cousin, Uncle John, that Christmas was epic, but we need to talk about the cabin. Dad says you still owe paperwork from years ago. The old family cabin up in the hills, Sarah's favorite place, had been a point of argument for over a decade. Mike and I had different ideas about selling it or keeping it. I thought the Christmas spirit had buried that, but money and memories don't fade easily. Emma called me the next morning, her voice tired. Dad, Tyler's stirring things again. Ryan lost his job right after Christmas. We're stretched thin. I didn't want to ruin the holiday. Her words trailed off. The weight hit me. My daughter had organized that massive gathering while carrying heavy secrets. I replied the same way I had to her original text. We'll figure this out together. Come over this weekend. That weekend became the start of deeper healing and harder truths. I opened my garage again, not just for cars, but for family. Ryan came with me to look at job leads while I fixed up an old truck I'd been restoring. Emma helped sort through more of Sarah's boxes. We found journals. In one, Sarah had written about fearing her illness would break us apart. She'd asked Emma in a private letter to bring your father back to life with love, not force. Reading that together, Emma cried. I thought pushing the Christmas party was just me being bossy. But it was Mom's wish too. I held her like I should have done years earlier. The cracks were still there. Financial stress, old resentments. But we were facing them in the light now, not hiding in silence. By mid-January, word spread in the family. More relatives reached out. Some offered help with Ryan's job search. Others shared their own struggles. The big Christmas had started a ripple effect of honesty I never expected. February brought freezing rain and a bigger surprise. While clearing the attic for more storage, I found a locked metal box behind old insulation. Inside were documents I'd forgotten. Sarah's life insurance policy I thought had been exhausted, plus a small investment account she'd set up quietly for Emma and the grandkids. It wasn't a fortune, but enough to ease immediate pressures, about $28,000. I sat on the dusty floor, stunned. Sarah had handled this without me knowing, protecting us even in her final months. The note attached read, "For when John needs reminding that family is the real wealth." I drove to Emma's that same evening. When I showed her, the room went silent. Ryan's eyes widened with relief. Lily and Jack didn't understand the money part, but they felt the joy. "Grandpa, does this mean we can keep the cabin and have more Christmases?" Jax asked innocently. That discovery healed old wounds with Mike too. We met at the cabin on a crisp weekend. Years of arguments melted as we walked the same trails Sarah loved. Mike admitted he'd been angry because he felt I withdrew after the funeral. I admitted I was lost in grief. We signed new papers together, keeping the cabin as shared family property for gatherings, not profit. Emma organized a small Valentine's weekend there. Only 20 of us this time, but the laughter was just as loud. Around the fireplace, stories flowed. Funny ones about my terrible cooking at the big Christmas, touching ones about Sarah's strength. For the first time, I felt like the father and grandfather I always wanted to be. But life tested us again. Ryan's job hunt was tough. Emma confided she'd been struggling with anxiety since becoming a mom. I listened more than I spoke, something I'd failed at for years. "You don't have to fix everything, Dad," she said. "Just be here." Those words became my new motto. Spring arrived with new challenges. A bad storm damaged part of my roof, the same one I worried about before Christmas. Insurance covered little. Instead of panicking alone, I called the family group chat Emma had created after the holidays. Within days, Mike showed up with tools, cousins sent gift cards, and neighbors pitched in. The repair day turned into a community event. Hammers banging, kids playing in the yard, women cooking lunch. Emma filmed little clips for her phone, saying, "This is what you started, Dad." Watching everyone work together, I realized the Christmas gathering hadn't been a one-time event. It sparked a support network I never knew I needed. During a break, Ryan pulled me aside. He'd landed a decent job, thanks to a lead from one of my old mechanic friends. "Your Christmas saved us, John. Not just the money from Sarah, but the way you showed up." His respect meant more than he knew. I told him about my own fears when I was young, starting a family with little money. We bonded like father and son. Emma and I took the grandkids to the cabin for Easter. There, under blooming trees, she opened up fully about the pressure she'd felt organizing the big event. "I was terrified you'd say no, but your reply, it gave me courage." I shared my side too, the loneliness that had almost swallowed me. We promised regular traditions, Summer cabin weekends, fall bonfires, and yes, another big Christmas. The family grew closer. Distant cousins joined our chats. Old grudges faded as new memories formed. My house, once too quiet, now echoed with plans and visits. Summer brought the real test. Emma called in tears one July night. Dad, the kids. Lily's been having health issues. Tests are scary. My heart dropped. I drove through the night to be with them. Hospital waiting rooms became new gathering spots. Family rotated visits. Mike brought food. Cousins sent encouraging messages. Those weeks were hard, but they showed the strength we'd built. Lily's condition turned out manageable, something we could handle together. During her recovery at my house, now fully fixed and welcoming, the grandkids turned my garage into a fort. Emma and I cooked Sarah's old recipes. Ryan and I restored that old truck together, turning it into a project that kept his mind busy. One evening, as fireflies lit the backyard, Emma said, "That text I sent you last December. It was the best risk I ever took." I replied, and my answer was the best decision I ever made. The whole family gathered again in August at the cabin for a reunion. 50 people once more, this time planned with everyone's input. No secrets, no last-minute shocks, just love, laughter, and gratitude. Around the campfire I stood up and thanked them all. A year ago I was alone in my thinking chair. Now look at us. By the following Christmas, our traditions were solid. My house hosted again, but this time with help from everyone. The tree sparkled with new ornaments the grandkids made. Sarah's journals were passed around gently. The money she left had been used wisely, helping with medical bills, cabin repairs, and even a small college fund for Lily and Jack. As I watched 50-plus family members, we'd grown. Singing carols and sharing meals, I felt complete. Emma hugged me tight. "You're the best, Dad. Thank you for saying yes to the chaos." That original text message had done more than force a big dinner. It rebuilt a family. It taught me that showing up messy is better than hiding perfectly. To anyone watching who feels distant from loved ones, send the text, make the call. Open your door even when it scares you. The rewards are greater than you can imagine. Life will always have storms, but together we weather them stronger. Safra's love, Emma's courage, and our family's renewed bond created a legacy I'm proud to leave. Here's to many more chaotic, beautiful Christmases. The end.